everyone, welcome back to my channel Style by C. On today's tutorial, we're going to be talking on how to make a simple kimono jacket or kimono gown with drawstring by the side, just like what we have in the pictures and in our video. If this is the first time of stopping by, thank you so much. You're highly welcome. Do subscribe to our channel, turn on your notification bell, give us a thumbs up, and share to friends. So our returning subscribers, you all are amazing. Thank you so much. Alright, so let's dive into it. So this is the fabric I'll be working with. I have 3 yards of African print here. That's what we're going to be using for this tutorial. Alright, so let's get started. So the first thing I did was to cut out 1 yard out from my 3 yards I have. Okay, you can decide to work with 3 yards depending on how long you want your jacket to be. Okay, so now I have went ahead to remove 1 yard from the 3 yards. I have 2 yards here. I folded it into two. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be folding it now is into four. I'm not going to be folding it this way. I'm going to be folding it this way so that there will be no shoulder joining. Like everything will be to be a cut together. So this is it. So this is the fold. Now, okay. Now my jacket is going to be a little bit shorter. Though you can decide to make your own longer. It's totally fine by you. So this is what I have. So if you watch closely, there is no shoulder joining. It's attached to the folding. Alright, so this is what we have. Note, if you want it to be longer, you can use 3.5 or 3 inches on a hole. So now we're going to be marking our bust points, our waistline, our hip line. Okay, so I'm going to place my tape back to my shoulder. This is going to serve as my start point and as my shoulder line. Okay, my bust point is 10 inches. Then my waistline is 16 inches. My hip line is 24 inches. So this is where I'm going to be adding my round body measurements. Okay, this for your balls, this for your waist, this is for your hip. Then coming to this center point now, I'm going to be marking 3 inches. 3 inches is the width of my neck. Then the depth of the neck is going to be 2 inches for the back piece. Okay, so for our front piece, we're going to be working with 3 inches, 3.5 inches. But first of all, we're going to be working on the back piece. We're going to cut it out first before we start talking about the front piece. Then the next thing we're going to be marking here now is the depth of our armhole. So place your tape back at your start point line and mark your chest line. So my chest line is at 8.5. Note, here now it depends on how wide you want your sleeve to be. Okay, you can decide to, let me assume my round sleeve measurement is 12. You go ahead and divide it by 2 and mark it here. Okay, so I prefer to insert my armhole measurement so it will not be too tight on me. So my armhole is 8.5. That is my chest line. So now we're going to go ahead and add our bust, mark our round bust measurements. So the round bust we are working with is 34 inches. When we divide it by 4, we'll be having 8.5. You mark your 8.5. Coming to the waistline, you're working with 28. You mark what you have. The same thing on our hip line. So having marked all these points, the next thing we're going to be adding is extra 6 inches. Reason is it's going to be a free jacket and it also has strings at the side. Okay, so it's very free. adding my 6. My 6. Alright, now I'm going to connect it together. Okay, so this is from the bust to the hip, then down to the bottom of, or the hem of the jacket. Then on our shoulder line proper, we're going to be setting our shoulder measurements. Mine is 15. When I divide it, I have 7.5. This is my shoulder line. Then I'm going to be inserting the length of my sleeve. Now you can decide to make the length of your sleeve. It's totally your choice how long you want the length of your sleeve to be. So I'm working with 13 inches for the length of my sleeve. And I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches up to 1.5 inches for folding. So I'm going to be working with the whole of the sleeve. Alright. So now from this armhole line, from my chest line, I'm going to be curving it into my bust line this way. So this is what I have for my jacket. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and cut this out from this point. We cut it down to so this is what I have. And I'm going to be trimming this bottom part off. So this is what we have. We go ahead and open it up. When you open it up, you see that there is no joining. Okay, before I open it up, let's cut out the neck area first. 2 inches neck depth. So now I'm gonna head to open up my dress and fold it, making the 2 sleeves to align together. Okay, so you now choose the part that you want to be your back and the side you want to be your front. So this is going to be serving as my back and this is going to be serving as my front. Okay, so now from this center point now, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Okay, so from this point now, I'm going to be making a curve, a triangle curve down to the bottom part of your gown. Remember, we're going to be adding a band or a placket to it, so that's why I said 1.5 inches at the bottom. So you mark 1.5 inches at the bottom, then you connect it using your.
So at this point, I went ahead to cut it out, okay? Then I opened it up. So this is what we have after cutting it out. This is what it looks like.
By my 1.5
So the
inches
next thing I went ahead to do was to fold in my sleeve,
to edges of my sleeve.
That was the next thing I went
Connect
ahead
it to the neck area. So you go ahead and cut that out.
Then I'm doing it for the both sides of my sleeves. So when I'm done hemming the edges of my both sleeves, the next thing I went ahead to do is to shape my jacket. I'm going to be working with about 1.5 inches to shape my jacket. Reason is because we're going to be having a drawstring at the bottom part of our jacket. Okay, so hem the bottom of your jacket, then leave about 10 inches from the bottom upwards. That's where you're going to be attaching your drawstrings. Okay, so that's the spacing we're going to be having.
So guys, the next thing I went ahead to do is to press open my shaping line. Okay, the side that I run a stitch on, I've pressed opened it. Now I'm going to be marking 10 inches from the bottom part upwards. So this is my where the 10 inches is stopping. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, fold in a little bit of the fabric and run a stitch on it. This is where I'm going to be attaching my drawstrings. Okay, so this is what I'm going to go ahead and do now. I'm going to do it for both sides of the gown or of the jacket. So guys, when we are done, the next thing we're going to be now working on is our placket. Alright, so you pick your fabric starting from this bottom part. You measure what you have round. So that's what I'm doing now. We're at 40, 50, 52. We're still counting. We're still going. So I have about 77 and a half. Let me say 77 and quarter inch, 77.75 inches. That's what I have. So I'm going to be cutting a band, a placket that is going to be 78 and quarter inches, 78 and three-quarter inch. That's what I'm going to be cutting out. Now the width of my band is going to be 2.5 inches. If you want yours broader, you can go for 3 inches. If you want it smaller, you can go for 2 inches, but for this I'm going to be working with 2.5 inches. All right, so let's do that. So now I'm going ahead to cut out my fabric. Okay, you'll be wondering if it's too short. Yes, it's on a fold. I'm going to open it up later and I'm going to be doing some joining. All right, so let's do this. So this is my 2.5. I'm going ahead to cut this out. Remember, the 2.5 is going to be on a fold, so when you open it up it's going to be 5 inches. All right, so this is the first one I have. It's not long enough. I think I have about 48 inches here, so I'm still going to be cutting out something that is this long again, then I'm going to be joining it together.
So the next thing we're going to be working on is
So
our
guys, this is
drawstrings.
my
Okay,
band.
so I have about 20
I
to
went ahead
25
to run a
inches long
stitch
of
on
my
it
drawstring. You can
to
decide
close
to
it
make
up
it
here,
more longer.
and I'm going to be
Then the
turning
width
it
of
out
the
this way
drawstrings is 1.5
to
inches.
have
You can
this.
decide to work with
All
2
right,
inches,
I
which is
also do the
totally
same
fine.
thing for the other
Okay,
side,
so I'm going to be running a
the other
stitch
end.
on it, then turn it out. Please, you'll be having 4 pieces of it
All right,
because two
now I'm going
two
to be
on each
joining
side
this to
of
my
your distance.
jacket.
So go ahead and
So I'm
fold
going to
it,
start from this
run a
point
stitch
now.
on it and turn it out,
Join
or
it,
you
run
can
a
decide
stitch
to
on it till
pipe
I
it,
get to the other
whichever
end of my
one is
jacket.
totally
Okay, so that's
fine.
what I'm going to go
Okay,
ahead
when you're
and do
done,
now.
you attach it to the casing you have made. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be working on is our pockets. The width of our pockets is going to be 10 inches and the length of the pocket is going to be about 12 to 13 inches. Though you can decide to work with 14 by 14 inches, which is totally fine. But because my jacket is short, that's why I'm working with these measurements. All right, so if your own is longer, go with 14 by 14 is fine. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be working with for this. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Please, it's going to be two. It's on a fold, so it's to come out in two places. All right, so yep. So for the upper part of the pocket, where my hands will be passing through, fold it into two and run a stitch on it. Then for the sides, you're going to be folding it in a little, then you iron it down. Okay, so I'll do that quickly with my pressing iron.
So I'm done with the pockets. The next thing I'm going to be doing now is to attach it to my jacket. All right. So now, what you do is you measure 1 inch away or 2 inches away from your placket. This point here, that's where you're going to be placing your pocket. Okay. Or let's say 1.5 inches is better. Okay, 1.5 inches away from the placket. Now if your jacket is longer than mine, because mine is short, if you're working with a longer jacket, what you have to do is from your armhole measurements, you come down by 10 inches and place your pocket. That's where your pocket is going to start from. But for because this is a very short jacket, I want it to be I want to place it on my hemline. Okay, so that's why I placed it this way. Now I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch on it from this point down to this end. Run a stitch on the hemline, then to this end. Now for the drawstrings I made, I went ahead and run a stitch to hold my strings together so it will not pull out. So when you're done with that, your jacket is ready.
So when we are done, this is what our jacket looks like. This is the final result. Do subscribe to the channel, share to friends. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. See you next video. Thank you.